Hello and welcome to the long-awaited beer video, and by long-awaited I mean less than a month. For those of you who don't know me or followed me because you saw Andrew Wong reply to my tweet or just like my music, and you decided you wanted to subscribe, that's awesome, and I thank you for it. Today I'm going to brew beer, and I've actually been brewing beer for some time, about 4 years just in my house, and for about a year now I've been brewing professionally. I've worked for a few microbreweries in Michigan. I also worked as a brewer for Anheuser-Busch, very briefly. Thanks for coming along on this beer journey with me while we make today's beer, which is going to be an Irish stout. Definitely dry, definitely Irish, a little bit funky, and very fast. So we're heading into Portland today to pick up some grains for a beer for St. Patrick's Day. Just coming up in just a couple of days here. So it's going to be a real challenge to get a stout brewed, fermented, and kegged in 3 days. But we're going for it. So we just picked up our grain. Really late start to the brew day because it's already the afternoon. But it's not beer if everything goes to plan. So we're gonna get started, and I'm gonna show you guys the good stuff in a minute. And brew day is getting underway. As you saw, we got our malts picked out. So I'd like to take a minute just go over them and explain why I chose the malts that I chose. Especially in an Irish stout, the malt bill is a really important part of the recipe. For a base malt, this here is 8 pounds of Golden Promise. Golden Promise is a UK base malt. And a base malt is just malted barley, nothing fancy, nothing special done to it. I threw in a bunch of extra malts because I'm brewing a stout, and I wanted to have that strong malty character and a really diverse backbone. It's not an Irish stout if you don't have roasted barley in it. And roasted barley is, you take barley, you malt it, and then you throw it into a kiln. In addition to malted barley, I'm using 2 pounds of flaked barley. And that is barley that's not malted. So my dark malt is roasted barley, but in addition to roasted barley, I'm using chocolate malt, which, don't be deceived by. It's chocolate malt, but it's not very sweet. It's actually a very bitter and tannic malt, but it contributes a lot of dark color and a lot of dark flavor. In addition to those 2 malts, something that I'm adding to round out the flavor and to sort of give it a little more of a toasty bread note, but also a little more, I'm going to say a little more meat on the bones of this stout, is I'm adding a pound of Special Roast, dark crystal malt that lends a lot of sweetness as well as a lot of good bready characters to your beer. And finally, on the malt train, some Dextra Pills. Just throw in a pound of it into anything you brew, half a pound probably, and it'll give you that big creamy head that you're looking for, especially in an Irish stout. I'd like to talk to you about my hop choice today as well. It's a stout, and it's an Irish stout, so you want it to be bitter, but you don't want it, it's not an IPA, it's not an American Pilsner, you don't want a lot of hop flavor, hop aroma. So whenever I do a stout, almost always when I do a stout, I use Fuggle hops. They're a UK hop, they're a 4.5, 5 alpha acid percent. So they're going to get you the bitterness you need, but they're not too aromatic, not too flavorful. They're a really great hop that you can use in your dark beers that won't overpower any malt flavors, and it won't add so much bitterness that you're like clawing your tongue out of your mouth or anything like that. So I got 2 ounces. I'm going to add at 60 minutes and at 45. So while we're letting all these things happen, I'll take a minute to just talk about what temperatures you want to mash your grain in and why. There's enzymatic activity that takes place during the mashing process where starches in barley are converted into sugars that the yeast eats. That's how you get alcohol and carbonation.
There are optimal temperature ranges for those enzymes, and it generally falls between 145 and 160 with an ideal at 152. However, different temperatures can get you different beers and different beer styles. And so I'm shooting for my mash in temp is going to be actually 160, but a lot of that heat is going to be absorbed by the grains right away, and it should drop down to the 152 that I'm looking for, but this is homebrew, so we'll see. Alright, the water just came to temp, so we are gonna mash in. Leftover habit from when I was brewing commercially, I always start with my specialty malt and then end with my base malt. When you're brewing commercially, you use these giant tubes that bring the malt from where it is to into your mash kettle. Oh, it already smells great. So, you always end with the base malt, and then the next beer, if there's any left over in the tube, which there almost always is, then it's just base malt. It doesn't matter, it's probably already in that beer anyway. In with the dexter malt. Finally, our flaked barley is next. Remember, 2 pounds of this, it just alters the mouthfeel, and it's very important for the Irish stout style. The big boy! That's a weird way to say that.
So you can see that's all grains and mash in there, and this is my recirculation pump, and we got a good flow coming out of there. It already looks like dark beer, and it's only been in there for less than a minute.
And I'm going to leave it in there, like I said, 45 minutes to an hour until we hit the gravity that we want to hit. And then bring it to a boil, add our hops, cool it back down, add our yeast, and let it sit for 2 weeks. Or 3 days!
While we're mashing and while our yeast is yeasting, I was joined by my lovely wife, who decided to come out and do a little bit of gardening, working on a nerve garden that we're going to have kicked off in the spring. So, off to a great start!
Yay!
So it's about that time in the brew day. I've been mashing for about 20-25 minutes, and I like to take gravity readings every 15 to 20 minutes. I have this really fancy, cool device called a refractometer, and what it does is it basically just measures the sugar. So I'll be right back, and I'm going to take some readings. Hot damn, 1050 already.
We hit our gravity, so I'm going to pull the grains out and set it to boiling, and we'll see how long that takes.
Oh, yeah.
So right now, all the liquid is sort of filtering through the grain bed. It's going to take a minute, probably 2. And after that, I'm going to pull this malt tube off and we'll try to get boiling. So we're at 78C. We're trying to get to 100. So, you know, they say a washpot never boils. So this is what I do for fun sometimes while I'm waiting for things to happen. Oh my god, it's like I'm really savoring these beats. Alright, we just hit a boil, and it's actually getting pretty late out, so the sun's gonna go down soon. And I'm probably gonna stop recording then and just finish my day out. I wanted to start earlier in the day, but again, I had to go get grains, and I had to go do a whole bunch of stuff. I think next is gonna be the tasting video. I might film a little more, but hopefully I can do notes before this goes up on Wednesday, and I can get you guys my my tasting thoughts on my little beer. To add the hops. Thanks for sticking with me so far. Maybe the next thing you'll see is me tasting this beer. So it is currently day 2 of fermentation, and you read that right. We're at 10:10 right now, which means that this boy is as done as it's gonna be. I'm gonna leave it on the yeast for another day or so, but that's a beer. Well, we did it. Somehow we managed to do it. We brewed a beer, Irish Stout, grain to glass in 3 days, and I am absolutely blown away. Now, we haven't tasted it yet. As you saw, we did just get a nice pour of it, and we're almost ready to taste it. You know, I've never done a stout on Kveik yeast before. This is supposed to be a very clean Kveik, and you know, we took it down low and slow after the first 2 days. So hopefully we have like a properly tasting stout without too much yeast character, but we'll have to see.
Gotta find out.
Well, I don't know. I feel like this video is already 20 minutes long, so I'm not going to talk your ears off anymore. Let's give it a little flipperoo here. See how it tastes.
Smells real good.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Good
like,
smell.
it is insanely roasty right away. And it's that, you know, it's that combination of playing with the chocolate melt with the roasted barley gives you a nice roasty flavor.
Yeah, definitely get the roasty.
There's not as much head as I wanted there to be. That's because I just put it on carbonation like literally less than an hour ago. So it'll carbonate more in time. But the little head that is there is sticking around, and that's just because of that extra pills that I put. Yeah,
This is one of the better stouts.
that's an Irish stout.
Yeah, it is.
To a T. I mean, it's got that thin body, roasty, bitter. None of the Kvite came through, which was my big concern, that it would be like super funky and fruity and spiky, but it's just it's a good
That's an
British
Irish
stout.
I'm genuinely very impressed.
Grain glass in 3 days.
I really, with the 3-day thing and all the other circumstances surrounding this, I was not, I don't want to say I didn't have hope in you, but like, this came out a lot better than I thought that it would.
I mean, me too. It's actually a little dangerous. I'm worried I'm going to drink this full glass in the next 5 seconds.
Oh, that's fantastic. This is going to be fantastic for
St. Patty's.
some corned beef.
Yeah, which you should be watching this on St. Patrick's Day if I do all of my editing tonight and get everything good to go. We are filming this right now on Tuesday if you're watching it on Wednesday. So yeah, grain to glass from Saturday to Tuesday, which I'm fairly proud of as quite the feat. But, you know, we got all our green up and ready to go. I'm wearing the only green that I own. I think you might be too.
I've got more green than this. Fuck you.
Got some corned beef going for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be a great day. Wake up early, have some Irish coffee, and we'll have plenty of beer to drink throughout the night. So if you followed along all the way to the end, thank you so much for following. I know it's a much longer video than I usually post. If we get good feedback, you know, maybe I'll do a couple more of these. Who knows? Maybe just some shorter ones with just tasting notes, or break them up into a process video and a tasting video. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. It's only the 5th video on the channel. But we did it. Grain to glass Irish stout. 3 days or less. Thanks to Kvite Cheese.
Cheers, baby.
Cheers, baby! We'll see you next week.
Yeah, genuinely, this is
Oh, the stout cake.
fantastic, dude. This is one of the